Good morning, gorgeous. Yes, you. I am so glad you made it back this week. Over the last two episodes, I have been talking through a season of real decisions. I have looked at what stability could be, what responsibility requires, and what it feels like to keep believing in something while also facing the facts of my life. Somewhere in that process, I realized I was not waiting for more information. I already understood the situation. I mean, I do. What remained was the harder part, deciding what I was going to do or what I was willing to do with the information that I have. I forgot to mention that I am babysitting my little babies, the Frenchies. So if you hear them in the background, I cannot keep stopping and starting over again. So just hang in there with me. But anyway, reflection has served me well. It helped me separate fear from wisdom and urgency from panic. But reflection can quietly become a hiding place when we keep asking the same questions after the answers have become crystal clear. I could imagine every possible outcome and keep searching for the option that carried no discomfort, but that option did not exist. Every direction required something from me, and avoiding the choice was beginning to cost me too. The trade-offs were real. More stability can change how much time and energy I had for Rosie's real estate solutions. Depending on the business alone meant continuing to carry financial pressure that was affecting more than my bank account. It was starting to shape my focus, my confidence, and the way I approached every slow week. I needed to stop treating the decision as a test of whether I believed in myself, because I do believe in myself. It was a decision about how to support the life I am actually living. Once I stopped measuring the decision by how it might look from the outside, I could pay closer attention to what it would require from me on the inside. I would need discipline because stability would not automatically solve everything. I would need boundaries so work did not consume the time and energy I still wanted to give to the business. And believe me, I've become an expert on setting boundaries. I would also need to be realistic about my capacity instead of assuming I could carry every responsibility at the same pace. The decision was becoming less about choosing one life over another and more about learning how to manage both with intention. As women, we are often praised for how much we can hold. We learn how to rearrange, compensate, and keep moving when the load becomes heavy. Capability can become such a familiar identity that we stop noticing when it is costing us too much. I know I can push through. I have done it many times. What I am learning now is that being able to endure something does not automatically mean it is the wisest way to live. This decision forced me to think about sustainability in a more honest way. A life can look productive from the outside while being held together by exhaustion. A business can remain open while its owner is operating from constant financial fear. A woman can appear strong while privately negotiating with herself every morning about how much she can keep going. I do not want the next chapter of my life to depend on that kind of strain. I also had to release the idea that making room for stability would cancel the vision. A job, a change in schedule, or a different source of income does not have the power to erase what God placed in me. The business does not become less meaningful because I chose or choose to support myself while I build it. In fact, removing some of the desperation may allow me to approach the work with clearer judgment, stronger boundaries, and more patience. Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts human play their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." I love that verse. I hear something steady in that scripture. It does not tell me to sit still until God explains the entire road to me. It leaves room for me to plan, choose, and act while remaining open to direction. Faith is not the absence of practical thinking. Sometimes faith is trusting that God can work through a responsible choice, even when that choice looks different from the one I originally imagined. That was deep. Once I accepted that, the decision stopped feeling like a final verdict on my future. It became a response to this season. That distinction matters. I am not signing away every possibility that may come later. I am deciding what support is needed now, based on the information, responsibilities, and capacity I have today. Future Rosie will allow to reassess when she has new information. Present Rosie still has to take care of the life in front of her. There is humility in making a decision without pretending you can guarantee the outcome. I may discover that part of the plan needs to change. I may misjudge my energy or realize that a schedule that looked reasonable on paper does not work in practice. That would not make me foolish. It would give me information I could not receive while standing still. I can adjust without turning every adjustment into an accusation against myself. I have spent enough time treating uncertainty as evidence that something must be wrong. Uncertainty is part of any meaningful decision. The presence of doubt does not automatically mean I chose badly, just as immediate relief does not always mean I chose wisely. I need more than a feeling in the moment. I need to watch what the decision produces over time, whether it creates stability, whether it supports my health and focus, and whether it allows me to remain connected to the work I still believe in. That is a different way of trusting myself. It is not blind confidence or pretending I will never get anything wrong. It is the willingness to make a thoughtful choice, give it a fair chance, and evaluate it based on reality rather than fear. I do not have to reopen the entire case every time I have a hard day. Some days will simply be hard. The question is whether the overall direction is helping me build a life I can live with integrity. Maybe you are facing a decision that has become heavier because you believe it has to define you. You may be deciding whether to return to work, leave a relationship, change your business, care for a parent, move, slow down, or begin again. The details may be different, but the pressure can feel the same. You want to make the right choice, and somewhere along the line, right begins to mean a choice that guarantees you will never regret anything. Come on. No decision can offer that guarantee. What you can do is become clear about the values that need to guide you. Ask what is true right now. What responsibilities cannot be ignored? What are you trying to protect? And what cost are you no longer willing to pay? Those answers may not make the decisions painless, but they can make it honest. Honesty gives you something solid to stand on when your emotions shift. For me, the next step is not more debate. God, no. It is preparation. If stability becomes part of my life again, I need to decide how the business will continue before my calendar fills itself. I need to identify the work that truly moves the business forward, the commitment that belong on my schedule, and the activities I have been doing simply because they make me feel busy. A new structure cannot be built around the assumptions that I will somehow find unlimited time. That means the business may need to become simpler. My message needs to remain clear. My outreach needs to be consistent. The systems I have already created need to be used instead of constantly redesigned. Ooh, because I can redesign something in 5 minutes that I didn't need. But anyway, I may have fewer hours, but those hours can become more focused. A smaller block of intentional time can do more than an entire day spent changing plans, revising materials, and waiting to feel ready. I will also need boundaries around work itself. Stability cannot become another reason to disappear from my own life. I know what it feels like to give a job more than it has earned because I care about doing things well. This time, doing things well must include protecting my energy, keeping promises to myself, and remembering that employment is one part of my life. It is not the owner of every useful hour I have. That is what self-leadership looks like for me now. It is less dramatic than I once thought. It is deciding what matters before the week begins. It is telling the truth when the plan is too full. It is following through on the actions I said were important. It is allowing a practical choice to remain practical instead of turning it into a story about my worth, my courage, or whether I am still becoming the woman I hope to be. Part of moving forward also means acknowledging what I am losing. Even a wise decision can carry disappointment. I had an image of how the business would grow, how quickly it would support me, and how much freedom I would have while building it. Changing the structure asked me to release part of that picture. I do not have to deny that loss in order to recognize the wisdom of the change. I can grieve the expectation and still welcome the support that reality is offering me. I am going to leave it right there until next week. Until next time, sis y hermana, stay rooted, stay blessed, and keep rising. If today's episode resonated with you, follow the show, leave a review, and share it with another woman who's rising or someone in your life who needs it. New episodes every Monday morning. Listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss what's next on Rosie, Rooted and Rising. If there is something you want to know or a topic you would like me to speak on, leave me a message. I would love to hear from you.